Gitmo is another issue in the campaign. Congressman Paul, since you're both Dr. Paul, let's start with you. Should Guantanamo Bay be shut down?
Yes.
And why?
Because I don't like military prisons and military tribunals.
Would it be a danger at all to... Where would those prisoners go?
They would go to the same courts that we tried the individuals that bombed the towers the first time. And they went into our court system and they were tried, and they're all in prison for life. Why should we be so frightened about that?
I guess the argument would be is that these are military combatants as opposed to civilian ones, and they're being treated with
that's
as an American citizen.
That's where we get into the sloppy language, because the one thing that we as Republicans and conservatives have failed to stick to our guns on is the Constitution on war. I was trying to get them to declare war when we went into Iraq so that you know who the enemy is and who the war is and where the battlefield is. But when you declare war on a tactic, the whole world is a war. And now we're attacking and arresting people and assassinating people worldwide. I think that's very dangerous, and I do not like the idea that Osama bin Laden right now is contemplating on declaring that an American-born citizen who happens to be probably a bad guy, but you and I don't know that he's an American citizen, he's contemplating on assassinating him. What has America come to? I mean, we have to have the law. We protect this because we're American citizens. If we want that same protection, but to say that, oh, he's an enemy combatant, he's a suspect 9 times out of 10. So I would say defending the rule of law is probably one of the most important things any of us can do, because someday we might like to be protected by the rule of law. So I think we should be very, very cautious, and we'd prevent a lot if we as conservatives would say, look, don't go to war unless it's declared. Know who the enemy is, fight, and win it, and get over with it, and don't have perpetual war for so-called perpetual peace. That's where I think our mistake has been.
Gitmo?
Now, my dad's only been here 20 minutes, and you're making me disagree with him. I haven't even had a chance to say hello. I don't think we should close down Gitmo until we decide what to do with the prisoners. I think there is a form of due process through the military trials. Our soldiers, if they're accused of murder in the battlefield, are tried in military court. Doesn't have exactly the same protections as our civilian courts do. But what I'm fearful of is that Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, we didn't do all the right things, maybe, in the way he was apprehended, or we did things that we wouldn't do in civilian court. I'm afraid that we take his case into civilian court and the judge says, you did these things, tortured him, or whatever you did to him, and his confession is thrown out. And I think that's a problem. I also think that if you pick up people in the battlefield, that you can't have a microphone coming from the helicopter that's bombing them saying, you have the right to remain silent. I just don't think we can have the same kind of thing in the battlefield. Now, not all of them were picked up in the battlefield. I do agree with my dad, though, that some of the confusion comes from declaration of war. The Supreme Court has upheld military tribunals in 2 cases in World War II, but war was declared. And so I am a big believer and a stickler for declaring war, and I would have, and if I'm elected, I will force a vote on declaration of war anytime we go to war. And I think it's open to discussion, though, whether or not you could declare war against a group or not. In Afghanistan's case, though, I think you could have declared war against... We asked the government to turn over the people in those camps. They refused. We could have declared war against the Taliban government and whoever they were harboring, and we should have, and then it would be clear-cut what is legal and what isn't legal, because we would have followed the rule of law then.
So you were in office right now, then, you would not support the war in Afghanistan because it's not a declared war?
I would support that we should declare it as a war if we were going to continue in a warlike fashion.
But if the Congress would not declare war, then you would not support that action?
Well, I think that's a tricky wicket to go through, and I haven't made a conclusion with regards to that in the sense that I think we have to ask questions. I think there needs to be a debate in the sense that we have to ask, is our national security threatened? Usually that question is asked in the very beginning when you declare war. Now we're in the middle of it. Does it make sense to declare war after 10 years? Then who do you declare war against? So it's a complicated question, but we do need to bring up the question because it's why, as we move forward at the very least, we should declare war, and I think that's the most important part of the discussion.
I'm getting the hard rap from the campaign. That means one more question, right?
All right,
and that is, this is full circle, as far as the whole Tea Party movement, how much do you think that you helped to launch that Congressman Paul? And do you see that as being a key to your son's campaign?
Well, I'll go back one step. I think Rand just proved he's his own man to think for himself. So the Tea Party movement, yes, there was a big surge of that interest on the Boston Tea Party Day. It was a big fundraiser. They were around the country, and they stood behind the campaign that I had. And it was a big event, a lot of money raised, and it was spontaneous. It was not organized from above. It was organized spontaneously at the grassroots. But I think it has morphed into something different. I don't think anybody knows what it is, except for one fact, that there's a lot of people in this country who are sick and tired of the status quo, conventional Republicans and conventional Democrats, conventional spending, and conventional foreign policy, the whole work. The American people are sick of it, and they're sick of this debt, and that's what the Tea Party movement is about, even though there's going to be a lot of variations. I think on the one issue that we just discussed, I think the Tea Party movement have some disagreements on foreign policy, but they're still the same people who are upset and want to do what's best for America. So I think we helped get it started. I have my own little private tea parties quite frequently, but most of them are held on college campuses, and I've been very encouraged that that group of Tea Party people, the young people, are inheriting this mess. They're very receptive to the views we've been talking about.
Last word.
Tea parties are huge. I think I was at maybe the first one in the country. Faneuil Hall, December 16th, 2007. We raised $6 million for my dad, but it was the Boston Tea Party, not the original Boston Tea Party. But I think the first of the wave that began, and it is a big movement. And I've met with a lot of the Tea Party folks in Kentucky, and we think we'll get a lot of them to support us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.